All righty. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming through, chatting with us. I'm going to share my screen for a minute. Can you all see that? Awesome. All right. Just want to do a quick little bit of housekeeping. Welcome to the Negative Space office hours. We did one of these back in November and December, and we had some people coming through asking questions. For one of them, we had Teddy Leo, the mentor for our first competition, coming through and kind of doing a little mentoring session. And we realized that these are not just helpful, but also helps us stay connected to the community. We're going to start offering these monthly. So keep an eye out on those. I know a lot of you all are already following on social media, so we'll be posting about it regularly. We want to make sure that anyone that has questions, anyone that wants to connect with each other, anyone that wants to connect with us has the ability to do so. So we're going to be holding these monthly, where, like I said, we can just connect, ask questions about the competitions, or just talk comics. It's really whatever it ends up turning into. A little bit about our competitions right now. We have our women's competition ending pretty soon. I think we're somewhere between 9 and 10 days until it closes. I'm not good at math, but yeah, it closes on March 9th at midnight. If you know any women identifying writers who are looking to get into it, this is a great shot when we have mentors that are just killers in the industry. We have Heather Antos, senior editor at IDW, and just like a legend in the comic book editing world and the comic book world in general. Nicole Gu, who's I always say it is like one of my favorite artists in a really long time. And Jennifer Jen Tran, who's coming into it with a literary agent's point of view and kind of insight to that world that the comic book world sometimes doesn't really realize is there, but is a huge opportunity for anyone that's writing comics and graphic novels. We also have our student competition. So if you know anyone who's currently a student, we really are opening it up to whatever you want to consider a student to be. Anyone that's taking time to learn more as a student in editing organization really has advantage can take advantage of this. If they're in middle school, high school, art school, continuing ed, whatever it is. We love anyone that's taking time to study more and learn more. So if they're doing that for comics and trying to like grow in any way, this competition is for them. We just got rid of our mid-competition deadline. We usually will have like a middle ground within the 2-month period our competition runs to kind of get people to submit early, really. So we just got rid of that. So April 1st is going to be our only deadline for this competition. Everyone that's participating as mentors and judges for the competition are volunteering their time. So it was able to bring the cost down incredibly. So, and right now we have Teddy coming back as an editor, as a mentor. And we actually got Jeremy Holt. He's a comic book writer. Last year he put out Made in Korea with Image Comics, which is like the best book to come out last year, if anyone got a chance to read it. So yeah, super exciting. And yeah, it's a big one. And if you know anyone that's a student, let them know. And last but not least, we have some upcoming events. We, along with our monthly office hours, we also want to hold monthly panels. We have 2 lined up so far. Editors Unite coming up in a few weeks. We have Heather Antos and Teddy Leo talking at that one. really it's going to be a space. I'll get to talk to them for a little bit, and then we'll open it up for questions for a little bit, where really anyone can learn more about what it's like to pitch to an editor, what they're looking for, what stands out to them, what's a no-no. And yeah, you have a direct line to big time editors right now and what it's like to pitch to them. And then in April, we'll have a artist writer relationship panel where, one of my favorite conversations with a lot of people in the comic book world in my circle is how to work with, because I'm a writer, it's how to work with artists, what you can share with them, what you can ask of them. How do you keep them happy? So if the project is amazing, they want to do more with you. How do you build that relationship? And we have 3 guests for that one. Fernando Pinto, who is a Chilean artist. I love his stuff. He's doing these daily little comic strips on Instagram that are just hilarious. If anyone wants to check him out, he was a judge in our first competition. Andre Fertino, who's a writer and an artist. He was a mentor for our first competition. And Justin Zimmerman, who's honestly knows everything there is to know in the comic book world. He's been an editor, he's been a writer, he's been a marketer, he's done it all. And he's put out a bunch of books. So he knows how to work with artists, and he's got one artist he works with regularly. So it's really going to showcase that relationship and how to keep it going for a long partnership. Office hours and events can all be found at negativespacecomics.com/events. Everything will be updated there. And also, if you ever miss a event that you wanted to watch, we'll be putting the recordings on there soon after they happen, so you can kind of catch up and hear what everyone has to say. Thank you. All right. So that's my little spiel. That's all the stuff that we got going on at Negative Space Comics right now. The last thing I'll add to that is that we're crossing T's, dotting I's, and doing all the things for our next competition. So we'll be announcing that really soon. I think we want to announce it by mid-March, somewhere around then. So keep your eyes out open for that. We're going to keep these rolling, and we're going to keep them coming because we're not stopping. This is really only the start of what we're doing at Negative Space. So yeah, that's everything I got as far as a quick spiel from us and what we got going on. So I'd love to open it up to see if anyone has questions about our competitions, what we got coming.
I'm just curious if you're getting a good amount of submissions on the women's competition.
Yeah.
Good.
So far, last time I checked was at our halfway point in our competition in the window, and we had more at the halfway point than we did for our fall one, which is funny. Like I envision it being lower numbers because you're going from everyone is allowed to submit to just women identifying writers that are allowed to submit. But yeah, we noticed that at the halfway point, there were more in for submissions than at the first one, which is really exciting.
Yeah, that's cool. I know I've been pushing it. I don't know if I got anybody to do it, but I'll try to push traffic to the site.
Yeah, we always appreciate it. We'll have to, on our submission form, we'll have to put a line that says, like, where did you hear about us? One of the options will be Omar.
I didn't find out about you guys until I saw the women's one on like an ad. And so there could just be more people now in general.
Yeah, definitely. I think as our first competition went, and like as things grow, obviously it's a little easier to get the word out. So I'm glad the ad reached you. That's awesome.
I do have a question. So I think all of you guys have already submitted, but I haven't yet. So in the template it says short summary, but then on like the Q or like frequently asked questions on the website, it says like what is the 2-sentence like summary. So like when you as far as I understand, if you're like submitting to a publisher, a summary would like include how it ends so they can find like plot holes. And then do you guys want that? Do you want kind of like how it is on the back of a book where it's more like find out what happens? Or and is the short summary the 2-sentence, or is that separate on the application?
Yeah, so we're looking for two different things there. The short kind of like what we call a log line. So I come from the screenwriting world. I'm also a comic book writer, but I studied screenwriting in college. So the log line is like what we always try to say is like the elevator pitch. If you had to condense your story into a 2-sentence pitch, that's the log line. That's the first version of what we're looking for. Like you said, it is similar to like what's on like the book flap on a book, like that those 2 sentences that is going to like get someone to buy your book if that's all they're going to read. In the summary, that's like a little bit more. You can almost write like a 1-paragraph summary. It's not entirely like what you would pitch to a publisher, because that's where you kind of want to have like maybe 3 to 4 sentences about like breaking down your story as a whole. But our summary, our 1-paragraph summary, is somewhere between like 3 to 5 to 7 sentences, where you're telling me a little bit more about the character, the obstacles, what's going on in the story. And you don't need to put in the ending. I personally like putting in endings when I go into summaries, just because in my stories, the endings are a big deal. So if it's a big deal in your story, you want to use it in your summaries, in your pitch. So you don't have to include the ending in the summary, but you can if you want to.
So some publishers demand the ending is in there. Like they're like, we don't want any surprises. Like, spoil the hell out of this thing.
Yeah, and especially like with it's just the first 28 pages, I didn't know like kind of what the expectation was.
Manon, are you submitting 28 pages of a graphic novel, or is this a comic book series? Okay. Yeah, definitely. So something like since it's a section of a graphic novel, in the summary you can tell me more about the rest of the story, because we won't really get an ending, since it's not like a single issue with like an ending to it. Any other questions?
I got one. What can we do to help you guys out and get the word out more? Or what can we do to help you in general? I want to see this thing get enormous.
Oh man, I love hearing that question. Honestly, like the work y'all are doing on social media is super helpful. Everyone that was a part of that like finalist group, I always see them sharing, retweeting, doing all that stuff, and that's really like the biggest help. When we came into this, Alex, my partner and co-founder, we were thinking a lot about how we wanted to like market and what we wanted to like think of a budget into, like how we wanted to put out ads or do this or do that. And then the more I thought about it, like, no, like the comic book world really is word of mouth. That's really what gets people to like do something like this or pick up a comic, whatever it might be. So that work is really helping. A step that we've been a little slow to get to, but that we want to get to next, is starting to hit up local comic book shops. I know I'm very close with my shop, and so Forbidden Planet in New York City, I'll give them a shout out because they're amazing and I'm there weekly. They'll have me at a table and run events. They'll put my flyers up. They'll put my postcards. They'll literally put my stickers into bags when anyone's buying anything. So I think the next step in our like outreach might be to hit up local comic book shops. And we will probably reach out to everyone that we have an email for and say, what is your shop and how can we get in contact with them? That might be our next step. So if you have a comic book shop, put us in contact. We'll send them a packet of flyers, stickers, all that stuff. I think getting to those places that honestly people like us are going to weekly, that might be the best next bet.
I think there's a question in the chat.
Yeah, I just saw it. There will be, oh, actually we asked for both. So if you can put a cover page on your script, well, you'll have your title, your name, and the log line. But there will also be a field to fill out when you're submitting. So both.
Okay. So on the template, it just says short summary, and I didn't know if that's what the log line and that's where you put it, or if that was somewhere that you put separate and you wanted more of a summary that was longer.
All right, give me 1 second because I might be giving you the wrong answer, and I want to make sure I'm not doing that. Let me see, form. Oh, I see what you mean, because you have a short bio and a short synopsis. Tell us about your projects. Got it. All right, then I might have been giving you the wrong information. Yeah, so we'll do the log line in that field as well, but you can kind of open it up a little bit if you need to say more. Sorry about that.
The log line is on the actual script itself, and then also you can put it in the application process and you can expand on that.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks.
Yeah, sorry for contradicting myself there. I thought we had a log line and a short synopsis, but we have a short bio and a log line in the form. And I feel like Robbie, there's also like a couple like communities online that I'm not great with. So if you all know anything about, I try to do some work on Reddit. I feel like since I'm not a Reddit person, you really need to be on there constantly to really be keeping up a community there. And I know Discord as well. You brought it up before, Robbie. I don't know much about it, but those are spaces I need to look into, and any tips into those worlds is helpful.
Like I'm in a few Discords, but I'm not like very active at all. However, this gives me a reason to go in there and drop a link.
Yeah, I'm in a lot for artists where it's different because you just post a picture and another artist can look at it and be like, oh, your anatomy's wonky here, or your lettering isn't right. Follow this rule. And it's easier to do that than it is to read a whole script and give feedback. So for writers, I don't know how it goes, but there is one I'm part of where there is a writer channel in the Discord, but that's like the least active channel. Like everybody will post there, like anybody want to read my script? And you might get 1 or 2 people, but then you might not hear back from them. So it's kind of hit or miss.
Yeah, getting someone to read your script is not the easiest. And also trusting someone to give you good feedback is also, you gotta find the right people to share with.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, maybe I'll look into it. And if not, maybe we've been wanting to see how we can kind of make some groups happen within Negative Space, and maybe that's the way we can kind of figure out that they're the right groupings for little writers groups, if that's something people need or want. What else? Anyone reading anything great right now?
I haven't read it yet, but I just got this in the mail today. I'm going to show it off. It's really freaking cool. Does anybody know who Derek Loffman is? He's an
not.
artist. There's his little Derek Loffman. So in October, he did the whole Inktober thing. Every
Mhm.
day in October, 31 days, homeboy drew and inked and colored a comic page called The Witch of Wickerson. Very nice cover. And every day he just posted a page of this thing on his Twitter account, and then he turned it into a Kickstarter for one day. It was a 1 day Kickstarter. He like obliterated his goal. This was
Whoa.
really nice. But yeah, I've been following him for a long time. He does super cool stuff. He does like all traditional brushes and fancy pens and stuff.
Man, a page a day is got to be tough keeping that up for 30 days.
Yeah, I was like, dude, crazy man.
We need to talk about Raw's Kickstarter, man. We need to pump that up.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, seriously.
We hit our goal. We demolished it.
Congrats.
One day,
Like
1
3
day
hours?
goal.
Yeah, 3 days. That was a small goal. We just wanted enough to order some books. It was a silly little thing, but yeah, pretty exciting stuff.
Is the book done, or are you all still working on some?
Oh
pages?
yeah, the book. It's not. It's weird. It's like not a traditional book. It's like so me and my uncle were part of this site. It's like online comic battles. He created a character. His character has like a little 2-3 page intro story. It's a teenage kid who can turn into a giant cockroach. And then my story was this girl who ordered a jetpack online, and when it shows up, it's a big robot glove. And so she's trying to track down whoever ripped her off. But it's like a long setup for this character. So our characters meet, and the robot glove winds up possessing her. There's like ghosts powering this jewel in it. And it sort of ends on a weird cliffhanger, building her up. But she's actually the same character I used for the script I submitted to this, in an entirely different kind of fashion, but still with the glove. So yeah, it was like messing with the character before I did something kind of more serious with it. We got it. We did it.
You got to shout out the title, man, so people can go search it up.
Oh yeah, look. So it's Rebel Roach versus Rocket Punch Susie, and Susie spelled very stupid, like the 80s, 70s punk rock band. SIOUXSIE. Rebel Roach versus Rocket Punch Susie.
Yeah.
Look that up.
I'm guessing if you punch in Rebel Roach, that'll do the trick. I don't know how
Yeah,
many
yeah, wait.
Kickstarter campaigns start with Rebel
So
Roach.
many people. How do you say that? What's a Susie? I'm like,
Yeah.
punk rock guys, come on.
What about you, Omar? You got anything to push?
No, I'm kind of in double secret probation mode. But I do got a fan fiction coming out later this year, so when the time is right, keep your eyes peeled for that. I'm super excited about it. I love doing the fan fictions because there's no pressure, there's no stress. Like, you can't charge money for it, so you're not going to do a Kickstarter, right? It's just pure, I love this thing and I want to put it out there. But yeah, I think that's about all I can talk about right now at the moment. But you know, I always take my time. I tend to cook stuff pretty slow over a period of time. So I'm not one of these people that can juggle 10 projects at the same time. For me, I just don't think I could put the same amount of quality into it versus if I'm just engrossed in something and really building it. But yeah, I'm pushing Negative Space Women's Competition. That's what I'm pushing.
That's what I like to hear. Both these guys, Omar and Robbie, were a part of a little chat hangout that we did earlier this month. We put that up online last week, I believe. So yeah, if you want to hear more about their projects that they submitted to the Negative Space and kind of like where they come from in their writer's journey, that Zoom hangout is also on our website right now, if you want to go check it out. And I'll ask you, Mike, you were a semi-finalist in the competition. I remember your script very well. What you've been got going on lately?
Yeah, so I don't know, pretty early days and trying to make this thing work. It seems like you two have been at it for years, and I, seen a few of your things through, various links and stuff. Very impressive. Congrats, Robbie, by the way. And just I don't know, I'm kind of I've got like a few ideas kind of going on. I'm very much the type to just trying to research everything I can and then just kind of like I'll vomit it out at once. But yeah, I mean, I'm really just trying to gather as much information just on like the things I want to write about, but also just like how to do this because I don't know. I don't really know how I would even be able to, I guess, promote or like, peddle anything without like any art. It's like not something that I'm able to do. So I'm actually really looking forward to the how to work with an artist panel because I really, really love some insight on how to do that. That seems to be like a really, the really big question mark in my head right now. But yeah, I'm really trying to grind out those ideas and make sure I've got like the research that like makes them like, feel authentic. So
Nice.
yeah.
There
Are you looking?
the website that sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
where we could read the finalists. I feel like I read somewhere that they would be put on the website that we could read their scripts. Maybe it wasn't this full script.
No, we never said we were shared those. I actually never asked any of the writers if we could share them.
But it might
Sorry?
have been something.
Yeah, we recently put up their short summaries on our website. So if you yeah, so we shared that so that we have our finalists. Yeah, our finalists are on our website now with their information, their social media handles, and their quick summaries of their project. So that's a way that we're gonna start. Anyone that I connect with in the industry, publishers, editors, whoever it is, that's the place where I'm going to send them so that if they want to see who have been our finalists and who have been our winners in our past, it's all going to be in one place. Yeah, so as far as scripts, are you looking to see scripts that have made it far in our competition, or are you looking to see more scripts in general, just to study scripts?
No, I think I was just kind of worried that if you posted them like the whole script, like before, like for instance, if I do well in the competition, and I'm like, is my script going to be out there for everyone? That was more of the question.
Got it. Yeah, no, we wouldn't share the scripts. If anything, if anyone that's in the publishing world, an editor, an agent, or anything like that wants to connect with one of our writers that are on that page and they want to request a script, I would put them in contact with the writer itself and they can deal with whether they want to share the script or not. Yeah, we were hoping to do the most clear language on our website and on our forums, just because we want to make sure that all writers know that we as Negative Space are in no way taking any claim, any ownership, anything at all from the writers that go through our competitions. We're the only people that are gonna read your script are gonna be our professional readers, judges, and mentors if it gets to that point. We're not sharing it with anyone, and we're not. Yeah, we just want to make sure there's no way that your script is in any danger going through our competitions.
It's tough because part of me was like, man, I won and these dudes seem like established and way better than me. Like I want to read theirs. But then I'm also like, well, I don't want them to give away their secret sauce if they're like shopping it around places. But also I don't want them to read mine because it's kind of embarrassing looking at it now. But at the same time, I still want to know, like, I want to know what everybody wrote and see it all. It's a weird place to be in.
I've always loved having writers groups, if I'm being honest. I feel like for years now I've started writers groups for screenwriting, TV writing, comic book writing, and it really is helpful to see other people's writings and see how other people because it's funny in the screenwriting world, scripts are mostly looking very similar. There's a very rigid kind of format that you want a script to look like, and you can kind of sway a little bit away from that, but not much because no one's going to read it. In the comic book world, I feel like there's different ways to play around with how you're dealing with panels and dialogue and sound effects and all these things. So I always like seeing other scripts, and that's where I benefited from having writers groups, because you get to go. I remember, I think my last writers group was a year or so ago. We had three other writers in it. We shared stuff every 2 weeks or so, and we get to see how people write, how people progress stories, how people take and give feedback, and it's really a good way to get eyes on other people and how they take on the format of the medium. So yeah, I mean, who knows? Reach out to the finalists and see if they want to start a writers group.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to share some of my stuff that's already out there. Yeah, I'd be happy to share Raw Dog. So hit me up.
All right, I'm down. I might take you up on that. Might do like a writers group, see who. That kind of stuff's fun because it's hard to map out a story that doesn't suck. Because you're in it so long and you're like, I don't even know if it's good or bad anymore. All my friends and family are saying it's good, but they're all lying to my face right now. So gotta give this to some strangers.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I feel like everyone needs an editor. Everyone needs another set of eyes on everything. If I'm being honest, it's like when I put together pitches, I still send those out to my close friends who are in my writers groups so they can look over my pitches just to make sure that it makes sense to them. Because like you said, when you're in it yourself, you kind of almost have blinders to your own story and to your own writing. It's always good to have another set of eyes on it.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for where to find an editor? Sorry. Like, is there like a marketplace online or like a place, or maybe more specialized for comic editors, more so than like novels or screenplays?
Yeah, I found a group. I'm blanking on what the name is, but it was through LinkedIn. I'll send it to you. It was a group of basically this one editor decided to start gathering people on Zoom to talk about editing in comic books. And I went to a few of those groups a year or so, like when it started like 6 months ago, because I wanted to learn more about what it's like on the editor side of things. And on there, I realized that there were people in this group. The Zooms would have like 20 people in it, and there were people that were trying to get into editing as a freelancer, and people that have been editing for comics for 20, 30 years. And like the stuff you would learn in those groups is amazing. And it's open to anyone. So I'll send you that link if you want to join those Zooms. I think they hold them every month or so. I've reached out myself to Alessandor, who's the woman that runs the group. And I've been in contact with her to hire her as an editor for one of my projects. So I know there's people in there that kind of like have the full range of people trying to get into it, people that are experienced, and people that have been in the industry for like decades. And it's almost like they're all doing it freelance at this point. No one in these groups was attached to a publisher. So yeah, I'll send you that group. I don't think they had a meeting this month, but they usually have them every month, and you get to meet some cool editors. All right. We're getting closer to the hour. Just seeing if anyone else had any questions.
I got something that's, I think as you said, you screenwrite as well. Just wondering if you could give me like some insight on this. So, and I guess I'm looking at this like a kind of like I guess a consumer, and then trying to take that and try to make it inform like the writing. But what I find with like when I'm like watching a TV show versus like reading a comic book, I feel like the comics just like, you got 22 pages to say what you got to say. Everything seems very fast. And I don't know if it's just what I'm reading, but a lot of the times it feels like the characterization and like the emotion and like, the things that make you relate to a character kind of get lost in the like the hustle and bustle of trying to close out the arc of the issue.
Mhm.
And I am wondering if that's something that you've noticed when you were writing like a screenplay versus like a comic book, and like just really anything in that regarding that you could impart onto me.
Yeah, I feel like that's what really separates a good comic from it's like when you start finding comics that are really leaning in on character instead of plot, right? Because the plot's going to move forward, and you're going to have a story from the beginning, middle, and end when you just focus on plot. Once you start hitting on the characters and what they're dealing with is when you start actually like diving deeper into the story and how they feel. I've seen not very few, I've seen many comics that do this really well. And for the most part, it's been ones that are focused on a sole character, and they're usually shorter series, somewhere between 5 or 6 issues, and that's it. When the story starts getting to be a lot bigger, or it's established characters. So if you're looking at things in Marvel and DC, they're mostly doing a lot of plot stuff. When you're looking at a handful of stories that are a little bit shorter, 5, 6 issues, you start like, so I'll bring up Jeremy's Made in Korea again. I think that story did it really well. I think they really focused on something they were trying to say with the story, and saw one character going through it and one character's emotional kind of like ups and downs through the story. And I think it's because they had a story that they knew was going to be 6 issues, and that's what the story they wanted to tell, and they weren't getting too big with it. I try to think of comics more like TV than film screenwriting, because that's when you really get to have like 10 issues, 10 episodes, whatever it might be for a season, and that's kind of helps you see it a little bit easier for the arc. I don't know if I'm just rambling right now. I don't know if that was helpful at all.
I got something to throw in for that. I think
Yeah.
that I learned, and it was like one of those moments where I was like, somebody would have told me this like forever ago, I would have been set. It was Rob Liefeld on his podcast, Robservations. I didn't hear this, but I saw somebody post about it on Instagram. He has this thing, the 777 method in comics. So within your first 7 pages, you show your main character and their skill set, if it's their superpowers or their capabilities, if they're a detective, why are they a great detective or whatever it is. Then your next 7 pages, you want to show their like internal struggle, their like life, whatever it is. And he compared it all to Spider-Man. So within those first 7 pages, you see Spider-Man swinging and climbing on walls. And the next 7 pages, you get Peter Parker and something's going on Mary Jane or Aunt May. And then the next 7 pages, somewhere within that, you're going to set up a conflict with your villain and end it on some kind of cliffhanger to ramp up the threat, which I thought was like, I like very simple structured guides to kind of keep me in line. And I heard that, I was like, okay, so that's something always in the back of my brain. I don't know if it's great or good, but it's a good start, if anything.
I mean, it's generally directionally good. Like if it's 5, 8, and 7, no one's going to come after you and say you violated the rule, right? It's got to work for what you're doing. I remember the first time I attempted a comic book script, I was trying to copy the format of Jim Lee and Frank Miller's All-Star Batman, and I was just painfully trying to recreate my story but squeezed into their pants, so to speak, and it just wasn't working. So I just threw it out and was like, I can't copy these guys. Like the panel breakdowns and everything has to flow naturally. My story has to be told, not their story framework with my guts in it. It's just, so I just threw it out the window, and that was the best thing I ever did. is learning by trial and error.
Like that. Thinking of like weird kind of like formatting things. I remember in my art class, comic book art class a few months ago, someone was telling me, I can't remember who the writer was, but he was a DC writer in like the 90s or 2000s, and he was working with like I think it was a Justice League or something like that. And it's how he would take a team book and still focus on the individuals and what they're dealing with, instead of just like going with like the team and what like the whatever the action was for that story. And this writer would take 3 different characters and kind of set like an A story, B story, and C story, very similar to like what they do in TV, right? And for the first issue in this story arc, he would give whoever's the A story somewhere around like 10 pages. Whoever's the B story, somewhere around 5 to 7. Whoever's the C story, 2 to 4 pages. Then for the next issue, whoever was the A story would then become the C story. Whoever was the B would come to A, whoever was the C would come to B. So then you're going through 5, 6 different books, but you're focusing on different characters for just as much time, instead of having very secondary or tertiary characters that aren't really doing much to your story, and they're all getting the limelight at some point. And once you sit and know that you're giving a character 8 to 10 pages to deal with something during that book, you're starting to like have to dig in because you have 8 to 10 pages to fill out. And ever since I heard that one, that's I've literally been I've been writing a story with a co-writer that's a big ensemble thing, and I've been breaking down my big middle chunk of issues into those kind of like breakdowns, because I don't want to lose characters. I don't want a character to like show up in issue 4 and then not have anything to do until issue 9. So I've been doing that rotating of A, B, and C stories, keeping everyone with some kind of focus.
I just put some in the chat, but I think I did it wrong. Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah. So I compiled a few tips I've learned over time from comic book pros that were doing like Zooms during COVID, and I just put them in this blog post. So I just put the link in the chat there.
Amazing.
Oh, this is awesome. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I hope there's 1 or 2 nuggets you can steal out of there. But yeah, it was really interesting that during COVID, like all these big name people just started making themselves available for like teaching, like a 1-hour Zoom with like, Mark Waid, it's crazy, and you could go in there and interact and learn at the foot of Mark Waid and others. It was, I try to take advantage of a lot of that stuff during COVID.
Me too. One of my first classes when COVID hit was a comic book class with Ron Mars.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check out that blog post. All right. Any last questions before we call it a night? Awesome. Thank you all for joining. Like I said, mentioned at the beginning, we're going to try to hold these monthly. The more people that show up, if you kind of throw in some questions before we show up, we can talk about kind of what's going on at Negative Space Comics. We can talk about writing tips, writing groups, all of this stuff. So thank you all for coming. And then obviously, if you want to hear from big time editors and artists and all that stuff, join our other panels and get a chance to ask them questions as well. Awesome. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks for hosting.
Enjoy the rest of the night.
Thanks. See you guys.